Be interesting to see what picture it shows since he's not got a picture.
All it's showing is on my side is my name in a black box.
Right.
So that said, welcome to Thrive Thursday. I am your facilitator, Kevin McGhee. Most of you know who I am and what I look like. So even though we're experiencing technical difficulties this evening, you can probably read my language, my sound for when I'm laughing and smiling. Tonight's topic is about happiness. And I'm going to lead in with this opening music before we do a prayer.
In the disco on the outskirts of Frisco, I was cruising with my favorite gang. Was so boring, filled without a
I can tell you can hear it because I see heads bobbing.
I really wasn't caring, but I felt my eyes staring.
I want to bop. I want to.
So, as we settle into our space and time right now, I know that everything is right and perfect. Even the technical difficulties are right and perfect. And the slight adjustments that we all have to make are all part of God's plans, part of which we have the ability to control with our thoughts and our desires that we put forth. Tonight's topic is well and perfectly attuned with our inner happiness and our personal happiness and how that exudes out into the world. And as I open this meeting, I know that there is only God. God is in and through and as everything that we see, do, experience, feel, all of it. From the clouds in the sky to the dirt that we step on. It is all good and it is all God. And I release this word into the realm that says yes, yes, and yes, knowing it is all good and perfect tonight as we move forward in and beyond the technical difficulties and enjoy this time together. And together we affirm this by saying, and so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
Perfect.
So welcome everyone. Again, I apologize for you not being able to see me, but I love being able to see all of you. And tonight's topic is happiness. And I want everybody to get a piece of paper and a pencil because at some point I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And it's not necessarily a sharing evening. There will be a time to share if you choose to what you end up writing down. And with that said, I want to discuss what happiness is and where it stems from. For myself, as we led in with the choice of music that always makes me happy and makes me feel good, my happy place for music is many genres, but disco is just, it always makes me feel good. It always makes me happy. It always gets me bopping and makes my feet move and I want to dance. Music is a form of divine happiness for me. And that leads into dancing, which also makes me happy and feel good. Many of these things I found were developed at an early age for me. My happiness and the things that make me and bring me happiness have changed over the years. There are things that when I was a child that I don't do as often now, but when I was a kid, they were just at the pinnacle of creating happiness in my life. I used to go swimming every single day in the summertime, every day, the city pool. And it was just some of the happiest moments of my life was when I was in the pool in the summertime. I absolutely loved swimming. Don't do it so much now anymore. Why? I'm not sure. I just don't have the time or have set the priority to do that for myself. Other things like cooking for other people, I have always just gotten so much happiness out of that. And being of service. And that includes from helping people in a store environment when I worked in retail, to serving people food or drinks as a bartender or server in a restaurant establishment. And so many of those things linked together. Um, the point of the topic tonight is so many times people have a tendency to lose their points of happy references or of what brings them joy and actual real happiness. There was a period of time in my own life that when I was feeling down and depressed and sad or whatever, less than happy, I would run around all over the place and go to thrift stores and I would buy stuff. Retail therapy, they call it. It would give me a moment of euphoric happiness when I would find something, but then 5 minutes later it was gone. So clearly there are things in life that can bring a sense of happiness, if only for a moment. And yet those aren't the things that actually are happy points that are just always there. As I said, dancing and music is always a point of happiness for me. For many people, I know I can safely say, as I speak for others, which I rarely do, I know Sue Ellen's grandchildren are a point of happiness for her, especially when they're littles. My niece and nephews, if I had them around, would be for me also. Now that my nephews are grown up, so I'm still joyful, but it's not the same as when they were their little kid energy. Again, I know with Sue Ellen, she absolutely loves and adores reading books. So that's a point of happiness when she can just sit in her comfy space and get involved in a good book and get all wrapped up in it. When I was younger, I was the same way. I used books as my window into the world to explore the world that was going to be before me when I became an adult. So I totally relate to that from that perspective. Not so much now. I don't read much anymore. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just the way it is. So, as I'm pointing out, the past and present, happiness changes. The things that bring us happiness do change in life. We grow older, we grow wiser, hopefully. We grow more discerning in our tastes sometimes in what creates a sense of happiness. But there are those things that still resonate from the time we were young until now. The taste of good food. For me, the joy of growing things and digging in the yard and creating the landscape around my home, or growing flowers and seeing the results of the beauty of nature around me that I had something to do with. And that creative process, again, that creative process of cooking or, figuring things out and how to make things work. For some people, they love the aspect of demolishing things rather than learning the techniques of building things back. So there really is no right or wrong answer. Everybody is completely unique and individualized. So with those basic principles put forth now with what I've been sharing, I want everyone just to take a few minutes, and we're not going to do a meditation or anything during this, but just write down the things that bring you happiness. Just make a list of a few things, however many. Hopefully there's at least half a dozen, whatever. And it can be anything. And the one thing I want to point out is it's got to be something that is actually bringing you happiness consistently. And find that thing that no matter what happens in your life, something can show up and it just immediately brings you that sense of joy and happiness. And sometimes, many times, a sense of peace. And it's many times those things that we list as our gratitude list that we're grateful for. They're not, happiness isn't always hinged on what somebody else does for us or gives to us, or because then we're giving somebody else the ability to give or take away our happiness. The things I'm referring to are things that are self-created, that are things outside of us, but nobody else has the ability to take it away from us. If that makes sense, I hope. Some people get so wrapped up in a personal relationship that they put all their happiness and joy into that, and then for whatever reason that relationship may end, cease to exist, whatever, and they just lose all joy in their life. I have a couple of people that I know that their story is that story. They were so wrapped up in their relationship, and then their relationship no longer existed due to death or split up. And now they're just walking Eeyores in that they just can never be happy. And whenever you see them, they just are just doom and gloom and poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. And, they go out, you'll see them smiling. And yet they're just always this doom and gloom cloud that follows them around by their own creation. And I want people to lock on to the idea that no matter what happens, there is the ability to have happiness in life, no matter what's going on. The world and its chaos around doesn't have to affect your ultimate happiness and personal well-being and bliss. So in this moment, think about what brings you happiness, like a true grounded sense of joy that never ceases to lift you up, to bring you out of a funk, if you will. And so as you're writing your lists and thinking about this on those terms, I think one of my favorite things is this time of year in the spring when I see everything renewing. The renewal that spring brings, living in a four seasons climate, is always a renewal for myself. And it creates that sense of joy and happiness that I know no matter what happens as the seasons change, I can always count on that natural and nature's renewal. And I know that God works, and the higher power that is God works through everything equally. And as it works within nature to make nature do the things that it does automatically without any instigation from mankind, I know that that same power is working within me and is there helping me and divinely guiding me if I allow it to. I know that I can use my willpower to do something that is totally unnecessary or unhealthy or flat out bad for me because that's the way it was set up. And, I can suffer the consequences of my choosing. And at the same time, when we step outside of ourselves and look at ourselves and we realize how powerful we really are and how God gave us this innate ability to create the joy and the happiness and the life that we truly wish to have. For some people, they are at their happy moments and their blissful moments being single and traveling the world and not having the grounded roots that some people find their happiness in. Everyone is different. There is no right or wrong answer to what creates happiness for each one of us. The things that make me happy, I absolutely know many of them don't make Sue Ellen happy. Because I know Sue Ellen well enough to say, I know she doesn't like getting her hands dirty. So digging in the garden and getting all mucky muck is totally not her thing. And that's okay. She has things that bring her the joy and happiness and that same level of exuberance that each one of us do, including myself. And her things are hers. And they are as important and fundamental in her life as they are in my things are in mine. I can't imagine what I would do if I didn't have the ability to have projects and painting and building and constructing and making a mess and cleaning it up and, gardening and all the things that I do. Those are my things. I want you to focus on your things and make sure that those are the things that you find and surround yourself with as much as humanly possible. You have a job that is so bad if you're still working, or if you're retired and you're so bored with life that you can't find your happiness in the things you're doing and you need to go back to work part-time to find your joy, do it. If you have a job that just isn't working for you and just no matter what you do, no matter how many ways to Sunday you look at it, you're unhappy, maybe it's time to find a new job. You don't have to suffer through the unhappiness. If you cannot find joy and happiness in the things that you do, start asking the questions, what would bring me happiness? What would bring me that sense of I'm excited to get up today and do whatever it is that's on your schedule to do? Life is too short to be miserable. Life is too short to allow other people's stuff, to be kind, to make you miserable. You are the creator of your personal experience by your choice and your chosen actions that you take to any situation. You are at choice to create happiness or misery. Are we going to repeat the same stories that keep us unhappy over and over and over again, just giving them more power to continue to make us unhappy? And the only thing we get out of that is trying to get sympathy from other people, which is kind of a moot point. But once you process, and this isn't saying or diminishing sadness if you've lost somebody or something, but it's moving beyond that to the point of continuing to live. You have your life, and your life is so very, very important. And the things that you choose to participate in, that reflect out and into the world lifts others. My involvement with people around me and their involvement in their almost a sounding board kind of action back to me brings me so much joy and happiness. I can't imagine not being around people. I could never be a hermit. I could never go and live in a cave by myself. It would just, I would just wither and die. And that's not an ego thing. That is the interaction of humanity around me. And yes, I do try to participate with people that are joyful and upbeat and don't bring me down. But at the same time, I don't avoid the Eeyores because I know that I do help them and I help to lift them up. And, you know, they do sometimes get better, at least for a few moments. And I'm smiling right now as I say this. Because I do love them. I absolutely adore the people that I'm speaking of when I say yours. And, you know, I would never say it to their face in those terms. And at the same time, when it's just the two of us talking one on one, I will try to point it out to them that their life is still in front of them. They have a choice to make. And that's, I think, where being a practitioner for me, even though retired, I'm still a practitioner. And I still try to lift people up so that they see this spectacular life that they still have and that they can hone in on the things that they can find joy and happiness in. So, with all of that said, I would love to hear some of your thoughts. And if you want to share anything off your list of things that make you happy in your thoughts, by all means, feel free to share. I'm going to open the floor to whomever wants to speak. We have plenty of time.
I'm going to take a whole different tack. I have things that I enjoy, but I choose to be happy. It's not something that makes me happy. Nothing in particular makes me happy. So I am at odds with your question, but I do have things that I enjoy, books, as you said, and things that I don't enjoy, like getting my hands dirty, as you said. I enjoy cooking once in a while, but not at all as often as you enjoy cooking. Mary Lee, you went through prac at the wrong time because he would cook dinner and then we would have prac class. So, you know, just saying.
That's true.
So anyway.
So Ellen, can you elaborate a little bit more on the first part of what you were saying?
I think happiness is a choice. And we can be happy no matter what's going on if we're in the space to allow it to happen. So that when something is going on that's not so pleasant, such as the car accident that happened a couple of weeks ago, even when I was in the midst of the car accident, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Let's see how this is going to turn out. It's going to derail my plans, and it did. And it was okay. I was more amused at the situation as it was unfolding with the very young driver who hit me. It was the day after his 18th birthday that he hit me. He had his new to him yesterday car that had brand new insurance on it as of yesterday, and he crashed into the back of me by not paying attention. I don't know where his head was, but it wasn't in following me. So, but I found that interesting, not upsetting at all, just allowing it to unfold. because I was not going to let it bother me other than physically. The crash took over my body and I had a physical reaction as one does when the adrenaline is running through it. So there was some angst going on body wise, but my mind and my brain were pretty much going, oh, isn't this interesting? That's how this is going to unfold. I choose happiness most of the time. And once in a while, I'll choose disappointment or despair. Not, I don't even go to despair very often at all anymore, but boredom. And then I will turn to one of my things that I like, books, prayer, occasionally music, to lift me out of wherever I am. And it's
There you
different.
go.
It's different, but they don't bring me happiness, but they do bring me enjoyment. Happiness to me is a choice. I choose it.
Absolutely. So hearing what you just said, yes, happiness is a choice. And you, with what you ended your talk, just your previous paragraphs with, were exactly what I was referring to. When
Right.
we're not feeling so good, when we're not feeling so and we're, instead of looking for a little exuberant moment of retail therapy when you go buy something and then it's gone 5 minutes later, that sense of joy, you turn to the things that you always know that are your happiness creators.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was looking for as far as what you were choosing to
Enjoy.
pick up. Right, your happiness creators are reading a book, prayer, the other things, spending time with your grandchildren. I know that's a big one, when you have the option. But
Yes.
anybody else?
I
Marilyn?
think along the line of Sue Ellen, very similarly. It's not the things. I think it's an attitude. It's an attitude that I link heavily with gratitude. Attitude and gratitude. Just basic things, knowing that can get up in the morning and my body is healthy and it moves, and that makes me happy. And I equate the two very often with being happy and being grateful. And I'm around too many people that are always that I can tell aren't happy because they're cranky and grouchy and irritable, and it's not anything. And one of my coworkers in particular, who I interact with regularly every day, that is always cranky and irritable and grouchy, and it's not my actions. I think she's just not a happy person, and I just feel that people that aren't, that's how they manifest it in their behavior, their interactions with other people or other things. But basically, for me, it's an attitude I work on seeing if I can't have every single day. Nobody can change that for me. It's and unless I allow them to. But very similarly to Sue Ellen, that's my basic attitude, and the things I do that bring me enjoyment just zoom in on the happiness and accentuate the happiness. It can be, I like getting my hands dirty in the garden. I like learning things. The practitioner path. I've learned so much, and I have enjoyed that tremendously, and look forward to continuing that after the licensing process. Cooking, being with people that like to talk about ideas rather than the doom and gloom of how things are in our world today. Playing and loving on my cats. Those are just a few of the things that enhance my happiness state.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Diane, do you have any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate this conversation. I love happiness. And I like this discussion. It is a choice. It is a choice. The happiness is a choice, definitely. And then I liked your phrase, Kevin, of, well, there are things we can do that help us that are happiness creators, because I know in my life I'm not always in that happy state of mind. I do have a general positive disposition. If anything's thrown at me, I that's my lens of viewing life. However, sometimes I get very sad. That's an example, right? I can get
Exactly.
very sad. Maybe some people I love, and this is real, are going through a really hard time, and that makes me very sad. So then, like you said, Kevin, I'll do things to uplift me, my spirit, right? And so I wrote down 8 things. Many of them have been consistent. The interesting thing, I mean, they've been consistent throughout my whole life. Like you said, Kevin, when you're
Yes.
a child, I know as a child, I loved being outside and being in nature. That brings, it makes
And
me
we see Sue
feel,
Ellen shaking her head no.
oh my gosh, I'd be in the mountains, I'd be skiing, riding my bike, whatever. Walking next to a creek and listening to the gentle sound. Anyway, that has been in my life forever. So I wrote 8 things. What was interesting, and God was on the list, a presence of God. Oh my gosh, that hasn't always been in my life. Wasn't until Science of Mind that my relationship with God and spirit brought me happiness. But anyway, most of my stuff had a theme that as I was doing it, I would be very, very happy, right? It would bring happiness while I was dancing and walking in nature, walking my dog. The doing it of it brought great happiness. I had 2 things on my list that were curious. I've always been someone that likes to affect what I call effect positive change. I did stuff in companies that if the net result was a positive thing for the company, that brought me great happiness. But I tell you, many times doing the work, it didn't make me happy, but the result made me very happy. And maybe that's why I did that for 45 years. I don't know. So I thought that was interesting. Then the other thing I thought was interesting, on top of walking the dog, dancing, being in nature. The other thing that was curious is that eating well, healthy things, right? And I hate to say this because it gets pounded in your head all the time. Eat well, sleep, and exercise. But I tell you, it's on my list. I actually like doing that, and I feel even better. So that's a happiness creator for me, believe it or not. Sleeping is a happiness creator for me.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all. Well, yeah, me too.
So anyway, thank you for the little exercise. That was entertaining.
Definitely activity and being active, any kind of activity has a tendency to snap one out of a funk, as I call it, or this like languid position. So I'm gonna call on somebody because I have not, and they just got their camera working. Unfortunately, mine's not. But Liz, I have not seen you before. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Let's see, on my list, I have service, like in my neighborhood, I like to, people leave grocery carts around. They brought them from the Crest or something, and so I like to take them back to the store. And another thing I like to do in the neighborhood is dig up neighbors' weeds, and even around the bus stop, like especially the prickery ones, like thistle. I don't want those spreading their seeds, and so I try to go around with a grocery bag and dig those up about this time of year. And I like to do, brings me happiness to do puzzles like Connections. You maybe heard of Wordle. Have you heard of the other one called Connections?
I haven't heard of Connections, but Wordle I know.
And Connections is in that same suite from the New York Times puzzles. And it's a grid of 4x4. So there's 16 boxes, and you're supposed to find 4 groups of 4. And so sometimes you can do it by yourself, but it's a lot more fun to do it with someone else. And especially if they have other life experiences or are of a different generation, it really helps to, just like any team effort, if you have people on your team from other generations, it helps to figure things out. And this time of year, I like, well, planting. I have some peas planted, but living off the land, like the mulberry trees are giving of their mulberries this time of year. And so I enjoy going over there to pick some. I have some white ones in my backyard that were sweet the first year, but since then they haven't been so sweet. But so that's why I still like to go get the purple ones from a couple blocks away.
Well, it sounds like you like nature and humanity around on some of the same levels that I do.
Yeah,
Those are all wonderful things.
yeah, things I enjoy. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to see you here. Like I said, I haven't seen you on my end on Thrive Thursday before, so glad to have
Well,
you.
this is the first time I came. I noticed it at the bottom of Sue Ellen's weekly letter, and so I said, "Oh, why don't I try that?"
Wonderful. We do it twice a month. We have a third Thursday every once in a while when we have a long month. So I hope you join us again. We never know who the speakers are going to be. We try to do a rotation of all of the people involved within our journey. Diane has done them. Lynn does them. Sue Ellen does them. We have 2 or 3 others also. So
Oh,
in
well,
rotation, I end up in here about every 5 or 6 weeks, give or take.
oh, I'm
So it's
glad you
every
told
week
me.
is something different. You just never know
Okay.
what you're gonna get.
You,
And
I
normally
think
I have my camera working. I'm gonna go buy a new computer this week, so I know my camera will work.
I didn't know it wasn't every week. For some reason, I thought it was every Thursday, but so
It's the first and third Thursdays
first and third.
And
of every
fifth,
month.
and
And the
fifth.
5th if we have a 5th Thursday, yes.
Oh, first and third and fifth. Oh, that's good to know. Okay,
So
I'll jot that down.
wonderful.
Third.
Reverend Lynn, it's been a while. I'm happy to see you tonight also.
Yes, I'm glad I'm here, and I'll be speaking next time on the 16th.
Oh, you're up on the 16th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this was an interesting exercise, and my list really, and my feeling about happiness goes both ways, but the way you've explained it, Kevin, and the way Sue Ellen explains it. Because I think there are things in different categories. There are things that I've done as a child and that I loved, and even when I have a memory about them, it makes me happy. I mean, my happy time was at my grandparents' house on the South River, and then, off the Chesapeake, and then on the Severn River and um, playing with my friends, swimming and boating and crabbing. Gosh, we grew up, I thought everybody lived like that. That was heaven to me as a child. And going to Ocean City every summer, walking on the boardwalk. And I can remember growing up and sitting on the benches at the boardwalk and just people watching. And that you could just sit there for hours and laugh and have a good time, people watching. I don't know how it is today. It's been a long time since I've been able to be in Ocean City, but
I have the
those were
boardwalks.
things.
It's like that now too.
Yeah, I mean, I
Still
can
like that.
think.
I'm here. I'm there now.
Yeah, I know. I'm so jealous. But I can think about those things and they bring back, they really well up happiness that stays with me for a long time when I think about those things. As an, hiking, I loved hiking in Salt Lake City in the mountains and the streams. And you could be on one side of a mountain and it was like a desert and go over the crest on the other side of the mountain and you'd be like in the lush, woody green stuff. And it was just such a varied area and I loved it. And sitting by the streams, and I would even take my artwork and stuff and sit and paint and draw up there and just sit there for hours. That was just amazing. There is one thing, you had your comment, like, what is something that is the most consistent? And at this point in my life where I am, it is my spirituality, kind of like something Diane says. And I can, uh, I am having more and more of those metaphysical and spiritual surprises and ahas, and they just wow me. And so where I'm so grateful for where I am in my life with Science of Mind, but with how the expansion even of that is right now. And that I think is the most consistent thing for me. So I think the things that bring me joy, are a few different categories of things, but I think it covers what you've asked for, but I think it also covers what Sue Ellen and Mary Lee talk about. That, yes, it's a choice to be happy about that, but I can have a memory and it still wells up and makes me feel happy for a long time.
Yes.
I used to, and I haven't done it for a long time. Just my life is just very different right now. So I'm in a place where I've never kind of been before. But I would get really happy after doing a spiritual mind treatment. And that smile would just come and it would just be with me. And I would call people and leave voice messages about how happy I was. Just, I remember one time somebody, a friend called me back and he said, "You're just sick. You know that? You're just sick." He said, "I don't know anybody else that would call somebody just to tell them how happy they are, but I just would feel like that." So that is the most consistent thing where I am with that. If I could put that in a bottle or just share that all the time and bring that to people, that would be it.
It's
Well,
funny
maybe
that
that's what
you
we do with
said
ministers anyway, right? I'm
when you
sorry.
said your spiritual mind treatments. When I work with people one-on-one, and especially when I was my time when I spent in Dothan, Alabama years ago, I was on my way from North Carolina to Idaho, and I spent a week there, and I did 1 minute miracles after the service
Yeah.
at the request of the sitting minister then, Reverend Glenda, and just working with these people one-on-one. And there was other people sitting and waiting to be next, but they couldn't hear what I was doing with the one person in front of me. And it was such this euphoric joy. And afterwards it was just like this that lasted for just days and days and days, kind of like coming back from a Centers for Spiritual Living conference. And the first one in 2009 was like that. I mean, I was just on cloud nine. I was just high as a kite all the way home because I drove home from Denver to Oklahoma. And Sue Ellen warned me. She warned me what was coming, and that it was just like this huge energy thing. And yep, there it was. And I can still pull that up in my memory, like you were saying with your memories. And those are the things to do with your past memories, even if it's about and involving somebody that's no longer with us, like our grandparents or our parents or anyone or anything even. Many times I have memories with my dogs, my past dogs that I've had that were just so joyful, as Liz was mentioning her kitty kitties. So I totally get it. And like I said, there is no right or wrong answer for this. It's happiness is a choice. And I think this whole topic and conversation, I just wanted people to think about it and actually put some well thought out attention to the things that bring us happiness so that we don't lose sight of those individual things that we always can turn to at any time, even in the midst of a car accident or something that's not so pleasant. You know, we still have those things, and reminding ourselves sometimes of those things, and even sometimes their past memories can be invaluable in our day-to-day life, and keeping ourselves grounded and yet hopeful and dreaming and reaching for the clouds, so to speak. So anyone else? Anything else? Any other shares, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, everything else that we've all talked about, all of us together, is just making me happy.
There you go.
Well, and I would agree with Rev Lynn. The spirituality, being in nature, the eating well and the sleeping. Thank you, Diane. Just maintain that attitude. As Liz says, helping clean up your neighborhood, help your neighbors with, and it's just this wonderful amalgamation of everything we've shared. Yeah, definitely puts a smile on my face.
Okay, thank you, Mary Lee. That's wonderful. I do not have my video. So at this point, this is the part where I would be saying we do survive on tithing and all of that as far as inner journey goes. Each one of the guest speakers does get a percentage of the tithing, so that's nice, but not why I do it. The number to text to is 405 337 9739. Again, that's 405 337 9739. I know there's other ways to text. Sue Ellen, Lynn, either one of you can put that in there. And the word to put in with your text, if you're text tithing, is, for me, is love. The word for tonight is love. And with that, I think that pretty much concludes our time. Let's see, what was I gonna say? Mary Lee, what portion of prac training are you in now?
Well, I take the written exam on May 13th.
So you finished prac 2?
Yes, except
Wonderful.
for just all the things that have to be done, the paper writing and the testing and all of those things still need.
Okay, I wanted to make sure before I ask of you this. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I want you to pray us out.
Okay. I said I need all the, and Sue Lynn would concur. I need all the, and so would Rev Lynn and Diane, all the practice I can continue.
Well, here's your chance.
Knowing that it is all God and uniting and surrounding and being within us as those God essences, I am so grateful for this time of sharing, being together, the laughter, the joy, the sharing from the heart, and of all that we have done tonight and been a part of tonight. I am so grateful for that. And as we all release this wonderful, positive God energy back into our lives. I express joy and gratitude for all of this. I release it into the universe that always says yes. And I do that now, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you.
So it
Thank
is.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
That was
Sue Ellen,
good.
Lynn, do you have anything to add before we close?